For all those who appreciate the work that we're doing here on Standing for Truth, please hit that subscribe button because we are just getting started.
All right, looks like we are live. We've got a packed house here in the studio. We've got myself and Gutsy moderating with
That's
the debaters. Yeah, so thanks for being here, Erica. I always appreciate it. As well as the debaters. This is going to be fun. This is a good way to end 2020. So we've got Praise-Gavin taking on Speed and Leo on the topic of, is the mind physical or non-physical? I'm going to hand it over to my awesome co-mod here, Gutsy, to go over the format and just, yeah, like I said, thanks for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to be here. And thanks to everyone in the chat for showing up. It should be a really interesting conversation tonight. This is something that I haven't seen discussed too frequently, so it should be kind of like like some new ground, I'm thinking we'll be covering tonight. So generally speaking, the format tonight is going to be 10 to 15 minute openers per team. So that'll be roughly 5 to 7-ish minutes per individual in team blocks, followed by 7 minutes of cross-examination for each team. I imagine that those will be done as teams rather than as individuals. 30 to 40 minutes of open discussion, 5-minute closers per team, and then question and answer. So for those questions, I believe you're going to want to shoot them at Standing for Truth, but I will also be helping collect those. So maybe you just want to tag both of us if room allows, and if not, just shoot them to Standing, and I'll be collecting them in a Word document as well, just to make sure that everyone's chats reach the two of us so we can ask these debaters this evening at the end of the debate.
Awesome. Great idea. Yes, you can either tag myself or Erica, who will be Gutsy in the chat. And like you said, yeah, this is an interesting topic. So it's definitely a topic I have never personally debated, nor have I heard too many debates on it. So this should be interesting. And it looks like everybody in the chat is excited as well. So why don't we, I guess we can get right into it. If you want to get right into our opening statements for the debaters. I know we're starting with Praise-Gavin.
Awesome. Yeah, you can. Okay. I assume you can find everyone's links in the description. And if not, I'm sure we can put them there, as well as. Do we want to let everyone introduce themselves, or just kind of add that? Since the openings are so loose, I imagine they could probably just say, here's my deal, if they'd like to, within the opening statement. And you guys, as I said previously in the before show, we'll shoot you a warning at around 12 minutes. Just so you know where you're at.
Yeah, why don't we do that? Yeah, that's a good idea. So I guess since it's 2 versus 2, we can do some brief introductions as to who you guys are. You can plug in your channels. And then once you're done those introductions, you can just say, hey, Standing, Erica, start my timer. And then we can start it there so you don't feel like you're losing out on your time. So why don't we do that? We'll hand it over to Praise-Gavin, brief introductions, and then we'll get right to your opening statements. Thanks for being here, guys.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks for having us at FT. We don't usually just hang out on our channel at night. We like to have open streams and have open discussions. Atheists, non-believers, Christians. We just like talking and debating and all that stuff. So you're welcome to come over.
Praise, there's some just a little muffling there, at least from my end. I'm not sure if it was for, just to make sure what you're saying is coming out clear.
Yeah. So is it better? Or?
Yeah.
Better.
Okay.
Yeah, better.
Yeah. So like I said, we have a channel. Me and Gavin like to hang out on, and we have open streams at usually evenings. So come on, check us out, and bring your controversies, questions, whatever you want to do. And thanks for having us. SFT should be good. Looking forward to our interlocutors. Should be a good one.
So my name's Gavin. How's my sound? Test, 1, 2, 3. Testing.
Good on our end.
Great. So my name's Gavin. I don't have a channel. In fact, I've got nothing. So there's not much to say as far as that goes. I'm wondering, should I just start and then I'll hand it over to Praise to finish off the opening statement for us, and then
absolutely.
Speed and Leo, you could introduce yourselves and then do your opening statement. How does that sound?
Yeah. Good on our end.
Works for us.
All right.
Good to go. I'll start your time.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So I just want to say a quick prayer before we start. You can start the timer now standing. Father God, we just pray your spirit will be with us today, Lord, and allow truth to come out, and for everything that is said on today's debate be given to you as glory for you and reflects your kindness, your mercy, your love, your forgiveness. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, so I will start. So we're going to start fast and then we're going to really accelerate. So first we'll start with a very simple syllogism from Dr. Johannes Ratz, physicist and philosopher at Biola University in California. It's really simple. It's only got two premises and a conclusion. Minds can exist in immaterial solipsist universes. Premise 2, matter cannot exist in immaterial solipsist universes. So obviously the conclusion is mind and matter cannot be the same thing. This is a modal argument. The solipsist world doesn't exist in an actual sense, but in a conceivable sense. In other words, and in inverted air quotes, it is conceivable in an internally consistent way that a mind exists in such a world. However, since the same cannot be said of matter, mind cannot be material. Minds can exist in immaterial solipsistic universes, and there is nothing inconsistent about such a scenario, because in a solipsist world, nothing is matter, which includes the mind. Now, whether the human mind is material or immaterial has been a great point of contention in philosophy and science since the days of Aristotle, Thomas Aquinas, and René Descartes. The dispute is whether the mind is immaterial, separate, is an immaterial, separate entity from the physical body, similar to the substance dualist view since the time of Descartes, which questions exactly how it is that an immaterial mind and a material body can interact together. So nowadays, when most people think of the mind, they think of it as a separate, immaterial entity inhabiting our physical body somehow. But this wasn't always the case. Philosophers like Aristotle and Thomas Aquinas have viewed the mind as a formal cause of the person. It was that thing which we would identify as the animating aspect of an organism, not necessarily some ghostly entity inhabiting the body, but a very real part of the body itself. They thought back then that even plants and animals were thought to have a lesser kind of mind. Plants had a nutritive mind, wherein they sought out nutrients. Animals had a nutritive, sensitive, and instinctive mind, having the faculties of sensation added. And human beings had nutritive, sensitive, instinctive, and rational minds, wherein they had the extra faculties of reason. Descartes wasn't the originator of the separate immaterial mind, but his philosophy of methodological doubt and its conclusion of cogito ergo sum made it the hottest philosophical topic in the West, like the fastest gun in the West. Opposed to this view, of course, are the atheists and materialists who think that all that exists is physical, material substance, that the mind is just the coordinated electrical firing of neurons and chemical changes inside the brain that generate all our thoughts, dreams, and our consciousness. This should be explained fully by classical physics, but it cannot, because the way the human mind thinks and operates is completely different from the way classical physics operates at the macro level. There's a field of research called the quantum mind theory that is challenging these very entrenched established beliefs that humans are nothing more than biological, materialistic robots determined by the law of physics. Now, just as substance dualism had its issues with the interaction of material and immaterial substance, the atheist materialist worldview has the problem of explaining such phenomena as qualia and the hard problem of consciousness. Of course, substance dualism doesn't necessarily answer these questions either, merely it just pushes it back a level. But atheism materialism has yet to offer a rational explanation for the materialism of the mind. The materialism of the mind, but instead generates to a sort of infinite regress of homunculi. Homunculi is a Latin phrase that means like miniature human being or humanoid. Materialism also has the problem of explaining how there can be multiple instantations of a mind. Minds can emerge from differently patterned neural configurations, which means it's not purely the precise configuration of the physical substrate of the brain that determines the existence of a mind. This is true between different people, but it's also true within the same single person. For example, if we take a person, we'll call him Joe Bloggs, just for the sake of brevity. So at time T1, Joe Bloggs has a different brain pattern than the same person Joe Bloggs has at time T2 due to neural plasticity. Yet they will still identify themselves as the same person. Joe Bloggs, I'm Joe Bloggs. This is what's meant by multiple instantiations in a single person. A type of middle ground proposed by Douglas Hofstadter in his 1979 opus Godel Ek de Bark is the idea of downward causation, using ideas of self-reference, such as a code that contains the instructions for changing itself. Hofstadter thought that the mind is the brain's ability to change itself. Now, this position has some merit, particularly in terms of neuroplasticity, but it does not give a full picture of the mind. The mind is an epiphenomenon that emerges from the complexity of the physical brain, which is able to reach down back to its constituent substrate to alter it. The neurons in the brain, when we are thinking, are a closed system. Yes, there's input from senses, but if it were just sense stimulation that translates into our behavior, then there'd be no need for consciousness, would there? The epiphenomenal mind can reach into its own memories to pull forth ideas for its own internal consideration. In this middle ground conception, the mind is still dependent on a physical substratum, the way something simple like shape requires there to be a physical existence, which is the shape. The shape itself is an emergent property of the configuration of atoms and molecules from which the object is composed. The mind is, however, a much more sophisticated emergent property than mere shape, being an emergent property of a complex dynamic system that we call the brain. So to conclude, this is my last sentence, because neuroscience cannot extract the mind from the brain, nor can it observe the mind in the brain. It can't observe the mind in the brain. The mind, therefore, is truly an immaterial entity. And with that, I yield the rest of my time to my learned colleague.
I appreciate that, Brother Gavin. Great presentation, great opening. So telekinesis validates mind over matter. And actually, this has been tested in monkeys. Monkeys exhibit telekinetic powers. So what's interesting, the literal definition of telekinesis by Merriam-Webster is the production of motion in objects as by a spiritualistic medium without contact or other physical means. And what's awesome about this is several peer-reviewed journals such as Lancet and IEEE not only report telekinesis as a real phenomenon, but they label as superhuman powers, as shown in the next slides. But if people can see this, I'm not sure if people can focus in, but here is an excerpt from the peer-reviewed journal itself from Lancet, and it says, technology for telekinesis. Monkeys can be trained to move a cursor on a computer screen by thought alone. According to U.S. researchers, this technology may enable patients with paralyzed or amputated limbs to control robotic prosthesis neurally. So Don Taylor, co-workers, Arizona State, implanted electrodes in the cerebral cortex in monkeys, and what they came to find out is the monkeys tried to move their arms at first, but eventually realized they could move the cursor by thought alone. And I'm going to continue on this. Telekinesis continued. And as seen above, this is an excerpt from the journal itself from IEEE, called Telekinesis Made Simple. And in the very journal itself, they classify its superhuman powers. And this person here is, you're going to see him in actual footage of this. And his name is Eric Sorto. And here we go. Want to play the video, get this going. It's only a few moments here, not too long. Whoops. I'm just going to play. Here we go.
Praise, is there supposed to be sound on this one?
There will be in a second, yeah. So the first, there's no sound, but there will be. As you can see, he's using his mind power alone to move that. So there you go, actual footage of telekinesis. Now, to finalize this presentation, blind NDEs exhibit mind and brain are separate. And the obvious implication of the non-physical mind is blind NDEs are exactly as cited NDEs, which means they are consistent and show blind people exhibit a non-physical mind. So experts
At about 12 minutes,
I
Praise,
appreciate
just
that.
let
And experts in the near-death experiences, Kenneth Ring, PhD, and Sharon Cooper, MA, published an article in several respected secular journals. Springer, for example, called, and this is the publication you guys can check, whoever wants to check it out. It's called Near-Death and Out-of-Body Experiences in the Blind, a study of apparent eyeless vision. And this is what Kenneth Ring said: to examine the nature of NDEs in the blind, we must of course restrict ourselves to 21 respondents in our sample, 12 women and 9 men who reported NDEs. Our findings with respect to this issue are unequivocal. Blind persons, even those blind from birth, recount experiences that clearly conform to the familiar prototype of the beatific NDE first popularized in Moody's book, Life After Death, 1975. Their narratives, in fact, tend to be indistinguishable of those cited persons with respect to the elements that serve and define the classic NDE patterns, such as the feelings of great peace and well-being that attend the experience, the sense of separation from the physical body, the experience of traveling through a tunnel of space, encounter with the light, the life review, and so forth, end quote. I'm going to give an actual account from a blind NDE himself, and here we go.
I'm guessing you want sound on that one, Praise? Praise?
Yeah, there's supposed to be sound. You guys don't hear sound?
I'm not hearing it, at least. You might want to unshare,
okay, hold on.
and then just make sure you click the audio button.
Yeah, hold on. Gosh. Why, PowerPoint, are you doing this to me? Okay. I'll try it this way. Can you guys hear that? You guys hear that?
Yes, we got you.
Oh, awesome. I'm going to replay it. This is only a minute long, so here we go.
Well, now it's gone again.
Oh, it's gone?
Yeah, I thought I heard it in the beginning there. Was I the only one?
I heard it.
I was
heard
hearing it in the
sound's
beginning.
not great.
Yeah, it seems
The
like it
sound's not
stopped.
great, but it's good enough.
All right, I'm just gonna leave my cursor on it. Hold on. Here we go.
Yeah, there it is.
And there it goes.
Yeah.
Praise. The sound is gone again.
Okay.
And it's back.
So let me try to because it didn't have sound. I'm gonna try one more last time. We'll probably end it. Hold on, give me 1 second.
You could try it on YouTube. You could try pulling it up.
Yeah,
typically
that's a great idea.
If you have a link on
In fact,
YouTube.
Yeah, I know exactly where it is. I'm gonna do YouTube. It's gonna be much better that way. Gosh dang PowerPoints. Gosh. So I apologize for the delay here, but it'll be worth it, as you'll see. I think it's going to be very compelling, but give me 1 second here. I'm going to pull it up. Oh, freaking technology.
Well, while we're waiting, super sticker master Doki Doki, I appreciate the super stickers. Oh, Praise, I can hear some sound there, so I'm guessing you got it. So maybe that was.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now. Yeah.
So there were some briefs, so a little bit of feedback earlier, and then I just muted. It looked like it was kind of coming from Gavin's side. So maybe when we get into the discussion portion, those who aren't talking, just make sure you're muted to avoid feedback. And then when you want to talk, just unmute yourself, and that should avoid any audio issues.
Right, exactly.
The tech never wants to work when you need it to work.
I know.
It's always something.
Yeah.
I said when Sal Cordova was over on my channel the other day, and both of our things that we were trying to run crashed on us like midway through. So it was classic. I know how that goes.
Yeah, it's very irritating, but I found it, so we're good to go.
Perfect.
Here we go, guys. I appreciate people's patience on that. I apologize for the delay there. Sorry, guys.
I had never known, nor have I known since, the idea of vision. As I was floating up beyond the roof, I knew that there was snow on the ground. In fact, it struck me that I could tell there was snow without even touching it. I also saw a tram, a very plain, square-shaped tram with a sign indicating the direction this tram was headed. And I saw the tracks, which were carved out in the snow. And I found it peculiar that I knew it without ever touching or hearing it. I actually could tell a visual sense, as close as I could make out, of this plain, ordinary tram going down these tracks. It's almost as if that sight has literally stuck with my imagination ever since. First, I saw very lush grass. And had I understood the concept of color, I would definitely have called it the greenest green that one could ever see.
And with that, we end our time. We appreciate everyone showing up, and that'll be it.
Sweet. Okay. There was some weird stuff there moving to and from. So if standing's okay with it, I think approximately like 17 minutes for the combined opener of like total allotment for the other team as well. I think does that sound fair with everyone?
Absolutely. Let them. You can have guys how much time you need.
Yeah, it's. I mean, you guys know I'm not.
Right.
I'm not super strict, so it's up to you guys. But I just want to make sure everyone feels like they're being heard. So I'm gonna shut up now. And we'll start once you guys tell us to.
Yeah, Leo,
So-
and
Okay,
take
so
as much time as you
yeah,
want.
I can go first. Yeah. So do you want me to start since you're going to segue us into the actual meat
I
of our
can go.
introduction?
Yeah.
For introduce,
I just got a
Okay.
short, like 4 minutes, and then you can take the rest of the time. So you can fill it up. And let's see. We'll see if I can do this. I was going to do something a lot more complicated than this, but I realized that modern neuroscience is about as approachable to the average man as quantum mechanics is. So 4 short things. First, trying to intuitively perceive our own minds makes as much sense as using our eyeballs to see our own eyeballs while they are seeing things. The mind has no reliable means of perceiving itself or of deciding what is true. And basically, you can never catch the wily quail of the qualia. And I screwed up my script a little bit, but mostly what we intuit about our minds is stuff that we make up in our minds, in our culture. And it changes over the course of centuries, and it has changed through the philosophy of the mind considerably. And we have come up very recently, probably I think back in the 80s or 90s, with the hard problem of consciousness. And then we proceeded from there. Most physicalist neuroscientists now accept that there's nothing spiritual or otherworldly about the mind. It all proceeds from the brain. Second, it's a straw man to depict the physicality of the brain as the mind being identical with your brain. It's not the way it works. Your brain by itself would result in almost a non-existent mind. Your mind actually consists of your brain, your body, and a vibrant and massively active local environment around you. So your mind sort of extends around you for a cloud, and definitely involves your body. And without that, you have very little mind. Some recent research in people that have locked-in syndrome, where they have no ability to sense anything and they can't move anything except maybe their eyes a little bit, shows that they are extremely calm and show limited consciousness, that they have a very, very low-level form of consciousness. So basically, if the world goes away and you can't sense things from your body, from your mind, your consciousness becomes smaller and smaller and blips out, basically. So you need the world around you. The mind does not exist in a pinpoint of time like we think. It's not, one little point of time flowing along. That isn't how experience works. It is a swath of time, plus the body, plus the local environment. And further, it's an accumulation of that local environment over the entire existence of the organism. And this conjures up our daily experience stream. And the reason we perceive things, in spite of the fact that we have very different neurons, we perceive roughly the same things, is because the world is the same around us. Our environments are the same. So even though our minds, our neural connections are all different, the environment, because it is all similar, allows us to have the same experience and to communicate. So, and third, things like tip of the tongue experience, loss of memory due to age and disease like Alzheimer's, mental malfunctions of our thinking, illusions, and even the cadence and timing of recognition in our thoughts match exactly the physical organization and the structure of our brains. So neuroscience has been able to illuminate the structure of our thoughts through the structure of our brains and make a strong correlation between the two. When you get Alzheimer's, you start to forget episodic memories. You start to forget things that happened last year or 20 years ago or last month or even in the last 5 minutes, and I've gone fuzzy again. Anyway, but it's okay. I can still speak. And with Alzheimer's, eventually you lose the ability to perceive objects. You lose the ability to understand that this cup has two sides, that that only one thing can occupy a space. And eventually with Alzheimer's, you revert back to the point where your brain is completely incapable of perceiving any reality at all. And if the soul was non-physical, there's no reason for that to be the case. there's absolutely no reason that we should forget things or not be able to remember the name of a band or a movie. If the soul is some spiritual thing, why is it not more constant? Why does it constantly alter with the shape and the state of our brains? So there's this strong correlation, and correlation is not causation, but it's damn good evidence for causation. So anyway, I think that's about all I got. I'll let it go.
Alrighty, am I coming through clear? Okay, so is consciousness physical?
Crystal clear.
It's an interesting question to ask. The first thing that I'd like to point out for everybody is that there is in the brain a small region of it called the pontine tegmentum. And this brainstem region is functionally connected to two other regions in the brain, the AI and the PACC. If this pontine tegmentum gets lesioned or damaged, its functional connections to those other two aforementioned regions essentially is cut off, and you lose most forms of higher order consciousness and even some forms of lower order consciousness. This is because this area of the brain is most associated with two things: arousal and awareness of our surroundings. And neuroscience has unanimously agreed, or near unanimously agreed, that these two identities, arousal and awareness, are very, very fundamental to what consciousness is. And if this region of the brain is damaged, its connection to two other regions of the brain does not work, and the person loses awareness and arousal, and thus they fall into a very, very low state of consciousness. Another thing is that the human brain makes up 4% of the mass of the average human body, yet it takes 20% of the energy of the average human body. In fact, anesthesiologists don't really consider a person to be in a behavioral state of consciousness if they can't respond to simple stimuli. And we know that people that are under anesthesiology are not capable of responding to simple stimuli, which is, as we all know, kind of the point of anesthesia. The thing about this is the brain uses significantly less energy, sometimes half as much energy as it normally does when somebody is in an anesthetic state or in an unconscious state, indicating that consciousness is directly connected to the amount of energy that the brain is using. And another study that was done in February of 2019 and talked about in Science magazine, it was published in the journal Science, states that consciousness isn't one region of the brain. It's not one thing. It is a complex, correlated system of the entire brain and numerous other things like our body. Our gut is very, very important even to our consciousness and our immediate experience around us. Without all of these parts put together, you don't get consciousness. And if even some of these parts are damaged, you can affect the consciousness of the individual. And we have shown with many, many studies that the lower the state of consciousness, the less functionally connected the brain is as a whole, and the less higher order electrochemical functioning is happening in the brain, which in turn comports with the idea that the brain or the mind is a product of the brain. And the paper that I'm referencing, they say, quote, "Our results establish that consciousness rests on the brain's ability to sustain rich brain dynamics and pave the way for determining specific and generalizable fingerprints of conscious and unconscious states." And final point that I want to make is the consensus amongst the field of neuroscientists. There was a study that was done that surveyed numerous neuroscientists, expert and non-expert. And by non-expert, what this study defined is that an expert has to be somebody that has published more than 5 articles on consciousness or has attended the ASSC, which is just a conference on the side. I think it's like the American Association for, it's something that deals with consciousness, and it's just a scientific organization. It doesn't mean you don't have a PhD or that you don't have degrees in it. It just means that you have to meet certain qualifications to be considered an expert. The global workspace theory, otherwise known as GWT, which is a physicalist theory of the mind, is the most promising theory of consciousness, with 28% of expert responders voicing support for it. Among non-expert responders, 22% preferred the integrated information theory, or the IIT theory. These are the two competing theories for human consciousness, both of which are physicalist theories. They're physicalist models for consciousness. So the two competing models that we have in the science are physicalist models. And in Psychology Today, Professor Lazarus, I can't remember his first name. I want to say Stewart. His father was Arnold Lazarus, I believe, the person who developed the integrated information theory. And his son in Psychology Today says the following about consciousness, quote, "The prevailing consensus in neuroscience is that consciousness is an emergent property of the brain and its metabolism. When the brain dies, the mind and consciousness of the being to whom that brain belongs ceases to exist. In other words, without a brain, there can be no consciousness, end quote. And by the way, this man is a PhD in psychology, as was his father. So in conclusion, not only is it the overwhelmingly vast consensus of experts in the field, and not just the experts in the relevant cognitive science fields, but also most philosophers of mind that accept that the mind is a product of the brain and both are entirely physical. But that seems to be where most of the data points us, or at least that seems to be the model that best comports with the observations that we make. And for that reason, it should be the model that is considered. And I yield the remainder of our time to the moderators.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. If it's cool with standing, I'm going to reset the timer and we'll toss it over to Praise and Gavin for their 7-minute kind of cross-examination. And then we'll toss it back to Leo and Speed. And then after that 14-minute period total, jump into open discussion.
Sure. Can I start?
Absolutely, Gav. Go ahead.
Yeah, Leo, you at the very start of your opening statement, you mentioned a structure in the brain, and you called it pontig something. Can you spell that for me?
Pontine TEG MUNTUM. Pontine tegmentum.
PONTI. What's after the I?
NT. Or no, yeah, NE, my bad.
So PON.
I'll put it in chat. I'll put it in private chat.
I got it.
Spell it for me, please.
PONTINE for the first word.
Yeah.
And then TEG, M as in mom, EN as in Nancy, and then TUM as in mom.
Pontine tegmentum. Is that it? Pontine tegmentum.
Yes.
Okay.
That is correct.
I just want to check that. I've never heard of that in the brain. Praise, you'll have to fill in the next couple of minutes, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. So my question to Speed and Leo is, are you familiar with hydrocephaly?
Nope.
Oh, hydrocephaly?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, hydrocephaly.
Where the brain is greatly reduced. Yes.
Well, it's not only reduced; it's zero brain. It's
all fluid. No. It's greatly reduced. The fluid basically pushes the structures out to the outer cortex, but there's still cortex there, and there's varying amounts of function depending on what degree the brain is compressed. And I'm not familiar with patients with hydrocephaly and how much function they have, but it varies. And some of them seem very aware, but no, that's kind of an old argument. Let's just not go there.
Well, I mean, are you saying there's any gray matter though?
Yes, there is gray matter. There has to be gray matter, otherwise the person would not be alive.
Are you familiar with the studies that were published that showed there was no gray matter?
There's no such study. You'd have to link me one, and I would.
Sure.
I would have to read it and give you a critique. But no, without gray matter is basically neurons, and if you don't have neurons, your heart isn't going to beat, your lungs aren't going to work, you're not going to function. So.
Well, no, they have the brain stem. I mean, that's all that's required. You don't need a brain.
And that has gray matter, and that also has all of the like the pontine tegmentum and other structures that involve awareness and moving your eyes. The superior colliculus is what you need to move your eyes. And even if they had no cortex at all, no basically higher cortex, they still have minimal things that will allow them to appear like they're alert. And that
can I jump in here?
Absolutely, Gav.
Yeah, just checking that word, PONTINE, tegmentum. Is that right?
Yes.
Tegmentum. There is no structure in the brain called the pontine tegmentum. I don't know where you're getting information wrong, but it's false.
Okay, I'll give you a wiki link, Gavin. You can just.
I'm not interested in a wiki link. I want to know what kind of medical certification or professional medical standards you guys have got?
Well, the paper that it came from is from neurology.org, one of the world's most well-respected neurological.
What sort of medical qualifications do you have?
What is that? Why is that relevant to the discussion?
Don't answer my question with a question. What medical qualifications do you have?
Your question isn't relevant to our discussion. Literally nobody in this right now is a professional in neurology.
Answer the question.
Okay, I'm not a doctor. I couldn't, operate on your brain, but I studied.
Right. So you don't have any medical qualifications. What about you, Leo?
Are you going to let me answer?
You've already answered. You don't have any medical qualifications. What about you, Leo?
Why is that relevant to our discussion?
I'm not done answering yet. I've studied philosophy.
No, your answer's good enough. Leo, do you have any medical qualifications?
I don't see how that's relevant to our discussion.
So that means you don't. Okay, so I do. Okay, I do. And it's in the
what are your qualifications?
list of our references.
Yeah,
in
what
the video
are your qualifications?
Well, you can find them in the list of references in the video description. See, here's the point.
Or you could just tell us.
You guys are making up a word called pontine tegmentum.
I'm not. I can actually read it from the paper.
Be quiet, Leo. Leo, be quiet. You need to let me finish. Be a good boy. Be a good boy. I know you're excited.
Dorsolateral pontine tegmentum.
You need to be quiet. There's no structure in the brain called the pontine tegmentum. And that's from a medical point of view and a doctor's point of view. So, you guys are false. You're just playing games. If you're not going to be honest, this is going to be a really short debate because I've no interest in debating with dishonest interlocutors.
Permission to share a screen.
Yeah, and I have a question for Leo. Can you provide the poll that you claim that the majority of the, I guess, physicians or experts claim that the mind is part of the brain? Yeah.
You guys are at around 6 minutes, just to let you know.
Okay, what is this?
Your
They just
screen
made
is
this
dead,
up.
Speed.
What's that? I know. Okay, pontine tegmentum. And the doctor whose qualifications seem to be a bunch of YouTube videos doesn't believe that the pontine tegmentum is a part of the brainstem. Here it is. I don't know what else we can do for you.
I mean,
Well, if you're going to use Wikipedia as your source,
Wikipedia made this up. Do you have
pontine tegmentum is not part of the brain structure.
Well, I mean, to Gavin's side, anyone can edit Wikipedia. But I'm just kidding me. But I'm looking for that poll
actually not true.
I call BS.
I put it in the private chat.
Okay, let me look at that real quick. Yeah, and I think, but can you show what I think you were trying to allude to is emergent consciousness? And do you have any type of papers that show that you can get around the hard problem of consciousness, and what papers solve that? So could you provide those, Leophilius?
Papers that
Once we answer this question, we'll go ahead and switch to the next cross-examination because we're at about 7 minutes, if that's cool with everyone.
Yeah, that's fine.
Are you talking about the papers that solve the hard problem of consciousness?
Yeah, because you claim that emergent consciousness, it seems to be scientific. That was your claim, but I'm pushing back and saying, well, what papers show that the hard problem of consciousness was solved? Because that would have to be solved if your claim was true. So
it has been solved. It wasn't really ever a problem to begin with. It was mainly due to a lack of our inability to measure what the brain is doing at higher levels, which we have now accomplished.
Really? Okay. I'm looking forward to those articles, those sources.
Well, see, there isn't one article that does this. It's just the collective works that have been published in the field for the last 20 or 30 years, showing that no, we can't actually sort of explain this. This really isn't much of a problem for us anymore. So it would really just be examining the data that currently exists in the field.
Can you provide those
Gavin,
papers,
in the book, The Pontine Tegmentum, in Eric Kandel's, the man who wrote the book on neuroscience? I mean, do you believe us now that it's, I don't know what to do with you.
We'll go ahead and transition into the next cross-examination, and I'll go ahead and start the timer for the next 7 minutes, if that's cool with everyone here.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, I have a question for Praise. The monkeys that move the cursor, Did they move the cursor without anything being attached to them at all?
As far as what I researched through it, they had some type of sensor attached to their head, but that's I might be wrong on that, but I have to look more.
Yeah, they all did. Basically, the guy that's moving the robot arms with the wheelchair, he had a brain implant, and that is proof of the physical nature of the brain. So that's all I got for you.
Yeah, they didn't characterize it that though, but yeah, sure.
Well, yeah, people tend to say ridiculous things about science. So.
Really? Oh, so the peer review IEE, so you're saying that's a fraudulent peer review publication?
Which one?
IEEE.
What is that?
That is a secular peer review publication.
Well, yeah, they didn't say that ridiculous thing about the brain.
Oh, they did. I put it in my opening, actually.
They didn't say. Okay, I looked up one of those. I found one of them.
The IEEE is the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers. This has absolutely nothing to do with the cognitive sciences, my guy. This has to do with electrical engineering and electrical engineers.
Okay, this guy, the abstract for the guy that you showed, I forget what his name is, paralyzed for 10 years. Let's see, where is it here? He had an implant in his brain. Sorto, I think his name was. So he had surgery to have something implanted in his brain. And then he learned how to use the arm, basically, and that bleeds into neuroplasticity. So all of these people had something attached to them.
No, it says supernatural powers inside Telekinesis Made Simple, IEE, but it's by Eliza Strickland. So I'm not sure where you're getting that information from.
Supernatural powers. So somebody decided to wax eloquent and call it supernatural powers, and you think the supernatural has been proven? That would be Nobel Prize material.
Yeah,
literally.
I can't find it.
Why can't I find it? You don't realize that they're speaking tongue in cheek here, obviously. Like, come on now. No, it's not.
I can't believe it must. So it must not be the case because
that's not an argument for infidelity, and that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying literally no precedent. There's literally no precedent for that
screen, please.
Yes,
and they're speaking tongue in cheek.
I showed the publication, so I mean, you can say it's
okay.
Not there, but it's really there.
Publication right here. Can you see the top of my screen where basically I searched for, let's see if you can see it. I searched for supernatural powers. It found it 0 times.
No, I never said supernatural. I said superhuman.
Superhuman powers. Okay, let's go look at superhuman powers and see what they're saying. I think you need
superhuman means supernatural.
Okay, superhuman abilities. The surgery gave Sordo superhuman abilities. So they're talking about, okay, the implants were put into his primary motor cortex, which is exactly what we'd expect with a physical brain. Okay, he has implants. You see that? They're implanted.
So nature itself is supernatural. Is that what you're saying?
Superhuman abilities. Basically, if you planted something in my brain and you hooked me up to a robot that could lift 400 pounds, I would have superhuman abilities. It's still physical. I mean, there's nothing. It doesn't say supernatural anywhere.
If it's not physical, why did they have to put a physical chip on the physical brain to get the other physical stuff to physically move? Why can't we just move things with our mind all the time? Why is it only when we attach physical things to the physical brain?
Just to record the data. It's just a data recorder.
What data is it recording? The data of the brain and then transmitting it to the thing that it's controlling?
Recording the data
so
from
it's no different than when I turn Bluetooth on my phone and can log into my computer. That's not magic. That's just science.
No, it's just like I just said. It's a recorder of data. But what you're doing is you're trying to imply more than what it's actually saying, and you're trying to shift the goalpost. Not going to work.
I think that's what you're doing, implying that there's.
I mean, it said superhuman abilities, and it's actually telekinesis, the name of the freaking paper. I mean, good gosh, people.
Yeah. So
will you accept freaking truth?
Okay,
scientific truth? I don't know.
Maybe you need a brain implant so you can understand how we use the human language, and we tend to use.
Wow, here come the insults from the losers.
Yeah.
So before we end up, before we waste the rest of our
ad hominems are losers.
I thought this was our turn to ask questions.
I don't care. You're losing. Hence
So
the
you don't
anomaly.
care about the terms of the debate that you agreed to, my guy? Anyway, Gavin, you said
Hey,
that
my
you're
guy,
credible.
my
You said
guy,
you
my
said
guy,
that you said
my guy, I'm the one
you-
that sent out the terms of the
you
debate.
you
Are you
said
right?
that you
I know you're
said that
getting really excited.
you
I know you're
said
getting
that.
really
Okay,
excited
let's go
about
back.
this.
I'm sorry, moderators.
go
I
back
thought
to
it was
the,
still our term.
cross-
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
With me and Speed were pretty respectable to them during their cross-examination. I know that ours is probably about done, and I only had one question for Gavin. Can you
There's about a minute and a half remaining,
tell
so
me
yes.
particularly what your credentials are? What field do you have your degree in? Were you involved with any research facilities? What institution did you receive your degree from, and what is the level of the degree?
Absolutely. It's in the video description. Do some work.
So why wouldn't you just tell me right now? It just doesn't make sense.
Why am I not finding that? Oh, I see. Let me take a look.
I'm done, by the way.
Great.
Yeah, I'm good.
Great. So
There's about a minute left for the cross-examination on Speed and Leo's side. If you'd like to use that remaining time, by all means. If not,
I'll
let me
just
know.
ask
We can leave it open.
Gavin, a question. Colin again. Are you familiar with Mysterianism? His
Yeah.
Mysterian position?
yeah.
Could you explain that to me?
I'm familiar with the name, yeah.
But do you know what Colin again, what his point is? You brought him up in your slide. Do you know what the Mysterian position is?
Praise must have brought it up because I didn't have any slides.
Oh, you didn't. Okay, but I saw Colin again on your slides. Anyway, the Mysterian position is that that humans are not capable of understanding the mind-body or mind-physical connection, and that we should just give it up. And that's kind of Colin McGinn's position, but not many people agree with him anymore. So anyway, that was it.
Why mention it?
I just wanted to know why you brought it up, I guess. Why did you bring up Colin McGinn?
I didn't.
You showed a slide from him. You showed the slideshow, right?
No, I was showing the slideshow.
Oh, okay. So are you familiar with it, Praise?
I'm still trying to locate the okay, call him again. Yeah, I see the slide now. Yeah.
But the Mysterian position is just that we are not capable of understanding what our own minds are, and I got fuzzy again, which is kind of similar to what I was saying, that we are not capable of introspecting our own minds. We have to rely on neuroscience in order to figure out what our minds are. We can't make stuff up.
That. Because of brain plasticity, that's obviously the opposite of what neuroscience tells us, especially with OCD patients. OCD patients, if they're trained to what we call mindfulness, where they can actually go in third-person mode and teach themselves to tell their brain, the firings in their brain that is telling them bad thoughts and things like that, they can go in third-person mode and actually heal themselves. There's people that have been healed from these mental disorders. So, I mean, that's obviously opposite of what you guys are claiming.
No. Are we in the open discussion period, I'm assuming now?
Yes, I was just gonna, sorry, I want to make sure that everyone find the most organic spots to jump in instead of just kind of bulldozing when the second hits the dot. But yes, we are ready to transition into the open period. I will start a timer on my end and let you guys know when we're at about 30 minutes, just because I think 30 to 40 is kind of what we were thinking of. And that's all I got.
Awesome. You can start out I'll let the Leophilius or Speak go first. Go ahead.
You're talking about Jeffrey Schwartz and his experiments with OCD, or his work with OCD, and all he's done is commandeer mindfulness. Hang on a second here. Cat hair. Okay. So Jeffrey Schwartz, who is he wants to make some sort of case about the soul. So he blathers on the internet about stuff. He is not the leading specialist in neuroplasticity. That position will go to Eric Kandel, who discovered it. Anyway, he uses mindfulness to modify your mind, which is no difference than me writing a list of things that I need to form habits about. And he did some rather remarkable work with OCD patients, getting them to use mindfulness to change the way they think. And you also mentioned in one of your videos I saw you talk to Jungle Jargon, where he claims to have used a mindfulness method to cure his schizophrenia. And I
Correct.
really think he needs to contact somebody and talk about that, because if he indeed did that, that is remarkable. But you can do that sort of thing with your mind, because your mind has parts. And now Jeffrey Schwartz talks about using the prefrontal cortex basically to modify things in your brainstem, your amygdala, and other parts of your brain that cause the OCD response, which is basically the messages aren't quite getting through. So you have this compulsion to do something over and over again. And Schwartz, basically you use one part of your brain to change the other part of your brain. This is how neuroplasticity works. So I'm not impressed with your going from that to the mind is supernatural. I don't see the connection. So.
Yeah, that might border on incredulity there, but Jeffrey Schwartz has published in several secular journals. I mean,
that doesn't make him right. Has he been capable of overturning the consensus, or at least seriously contending with it? Because I don't think so.
I challenge your consensus in the first place.
Well, on what grounds do you make that challenge, and what data do you have to back up that challenge?
Yeah, but I want to see the sample size of your poll. So you're saying there?
I gave you the link. It's in the private chat.
No, but I'm asking you, how many people were in this poll?
I don't know.
What poll?
Well, then, I mean, it's pretty useless at that point if you can't even tell us.
No, it's not. It just seems like you're trying to find subtle ways to dismiss a poll that showed that the majority of neuroscientists accept one of the two competing models for consciousness.
Oh, yeah, UC
and both of them happen
really
to be
going to be immaterial. Okay, sure. So if it's UC Berkeley, like, I mean, that is biased. I mean, I could find the same thing in polls.
In what way? It was 249 participants. 80% were in academia. 40% were experts in consciousness research.
Okay, was this in academia or what?
Did you not just... 80 were in academia and 40 were experts in consciousness research. So yeah, these were academics, these were scholars, these were expert researchers. And now you're not really responding to the study. It seems that you're just blindly hand-waving it because it shows that the overwhelming
confirmation bias. I can find the same
seem to accept that consciousness is physical. Why do you guys keep steamrolling over us when we talk? I don't think that me and Speed have done that to you guys yet.
Well, no, you're bringing up a point and I bring up a point. We can respond to your point. So
yeah,
I mean, this is a normal discussion.
Let me get the point out.
You made a point, and I respond. It's not like you're not talking; you're talking.
I didn't say I wasn't talking. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, yeah, if you have reasonable data to substantiate your contention with the expert consensus on a field that none of us are experts in, by all means, present it. But I don't think that you'll be able to do that.
That's not a consensus. 240 people. Do you know how many people are in that profession? I mean, we're talking thousands at least. That's a horrible poll. Dismissed. You can use it for your confirmation bias. That's fine. But yeah, I want to talk about the blind NDEs. So why is it that they bring up color? And why is it that they can describe objects such as trains outside of the hospital they were in? And so I'd like to see what physical phenomena would address that. Go ahead.
Did you link that guy? Because that's just an anecdote, and I would have to.
At this point, it's an anecdote. Well, I'd want to look at the actual medical records of physics. Well, it is literally by definition an anecdote.
Kenneth Reen did a whole
did you link it?
Size of 200. Yeah, I did. It's in the it's in our caption of this stream, and you can check it out. Kenneth sample did over 240 people, and they were all the same type of account.
That's too small a sample size. If I can't have 240 professionals, you don't get 240 patients.
Well, I mean, blind people are not just a dime a dozen. Blind people are very minuscule. I mean, they're very they're not part of the population. They're a rarity. So, I mean, are you serious? Are you trying to compare blind people?
Most people aren't academics either. Well, no, I'm getting at that you just hand-waved the study because, well, they only surveyed 249 people. Never you mind that they were experts and it was a sample size of the larger field. And it's not the only study that's shown that there's a consensus of physicalism. But here, let me present this study that had 240 patients. Like, it just seems like a blatant double standard.
So, okay, are you saying the consensus says something, therefore the consensus is right? Is that what you're saying?
No, that's not my argument.
So why'd you bring up a consensus in the first place?
Because I am not a professional, and it is more reasonable to go with what the consensus in a field states, because the consensus is based off of the collection of data. The consensus is based off of the collection of data, which could be correct and it could be incomplete. It's been incomplete in the past. And because I'm not a professional, I choose to go with what the professionals say.
You just contradicted yourself. You says no. It's just because the consensus says something doesn't make it true. But then you says, well, I got to go with it because I'm not a.
Yeah, saying that I'm going with the consensus is not making a statement to the truth of the consensus. It's simply saying that I follow it.
Okay. So why?
And I think it is reasonable, especially when one isn't a professional, to go with what not just one or a handful of, but literally the tens of thousands of individuals that consistently research, teach, and study in that field. I think that is a pretty reasonable argument to be made.
So why would I accept your opinion? Why does that matter? I see. I have an opinion too. I say your opinion's trash. So why don't you accept my opinion?
I don't believe I shared an opinion. It's not an opinion. What the consensus of neuroscience is.
You just said it was.
No, I didn't.
You says I asked you, what did you mean when you said that I'm going to go with it? You said, well, I think that's what it should be. That's an opinion.
No, that's not what I said. I said, I think that one should go with what the consensus is. I don't know why they wouldn't.
So, okay, are you saying the consensus is true because the consensus says something is true? Or so what's your argument?
My argument is that the consensus of relevant experts in a field know more than me and know more than most people, and so their words should be considered more credible than the words of other people or even anecdotal experiences by others.
So how do you know that their understanding is more credible than a normal person?
Are you really asking me how I know that a PhD in like any field has a better word on the very field they have a PhD in than the common person who doesn't have a PhD in that subject?
McDonald's? I mean,
you can't.
Hold on. No, Ken Hovind has PhDs.
No, he doesn't.
You deny his PhD. Now
do you know what a diploma mill is, Praise? Do you know what a diploma mill is, Praise?
No, go ahead and explain it.
A diploma mill is a place that hands out diplomas and degrees that is not accredited by any institution, and credits cannot transfer to legitimate institutions. It's literally a fake degree. These are all over the world, and they're very well recognized. And that's where Ken Hovind got his PhD.
Part of the diploma mill?
Because it's listed as a diploma mill. The accrediting organizations call it a diploma mill. Go to the accrediting organizations for the United States.
Okay.
I mean, this is not uncommon knowledge. This is, very professionals have said this about Kent Hovind.
No, I'm talking about your supposed consensus. I'm challenging that, and I'm saying some of these sources could be fraudulent. Yeah.
Can you show that they're fraudulent? Or are you just saying, well, they could be? You're right, they could be, but there's no reason for me to believe that if you can't show it, because generally fraud is hard to do within the field of academia because of the restrictions that are placed on those in the field. If they engage in fraudulent action, they generally lose their ability to publish. They're not allowed to, they can lose their jobs if they work at universities or research institutes. So yeah, they could be fraudulent, but there's a serious disincentive to be fraudulent within the realms of academia. And so if you're going to claim that there's fraud, you would have to demonstrate a reasonable case for that.
No. You're the one that made the claim. You have the burden of proof. You're
the one that made the claim that there could be fraud. I didn't.
Yeah, exactly. But you're the one that's saying this not
provide
fraud.
Evidence.
You're the one that
I didn't say that there wasn't fraud. In fact, I specifically said there could be fraud. I just have no reason to believe that working in an industry that seriously disincentivizes fraud and actively punishes it, weeding them out, which naturally is going to limit the amount of fraud you see in the field, should be taken to be fraudulent.
It's a special pleading at that point. So why would
how am I specially pleading?
No, because you don't know if they're not fraudulent. So why would we accept your claim about a consensus you haven't even verified or validated? It's dismissed.
What's dismissed? You're just dismissing the consensus? You've been doing that the whole time.
I'm dismissing on the grounds that it's unprovable. There's nothing justified in your consensus. It's dismissed.
Okay, remind me to go to my dentist next time I need a new carburetor installed on my engine.
Category fallacy. It's equivocation fallacy.
Wait, which one is it? Category fallacy, equivocation fallacy, or are you just calling it a fallacy because you don't have a cogent response?
No, that is a cogent response. That's just...
No. Okay, then show how it's either of those fallacies, please. Define what those fallacies are and how I committed it and where I committed it.
Well, in this consensus we're talking about is a whole different arena than what you're talking about with your practice that you were talking about. So is a category
what's
fallacy.
The difference between there being a consensus in one field and there being a consensus in another field? That's just a consensus.
No, there's different types of consensuses, and there's
Like
different
what?
rules.
Do you know what
for
the word consensus means?
It just means that the majority comes to a decision.
Yeah, the majority is actually.
Yeah. Okay. So Gavin, go ahead if you want to jump in here. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, and you're free to jump in anytime, Speed.
Yeah, this is a great waste of my professional time.
Then why did you agree to this?
You'll notice on the video description that Praise and I have come loaded with evidence. And you'll also notice that Speed and Leo provide no evidence.
I hear a lot of claims like
So,
for instance,
whatever you guys say, whatever Speed and Leo say, they're just claims that have, no buttressing evidence. So
My entire
what we've got is two amateurs without any medical qualifications at all, trying to act like they know something about medicine and about the body.
Nobody said that we were knowing anything about this.
There is no structure in the brain called the pontine tegmentum structure.
Yes, there is. Speed of sound literally pulled out an actual textbook in the subject and showed you where the word is.
The actual part of the pons where impulses are relayed between the cerebellum and the cerebellum. There is something called the pontine nucleus. But if you guys knew anything about the body and about medicine, then you'd know that.
So why is a professional research paper written by like a dozen professionals talking about the pontine tegmentum if it's not a real thing?
You're a professional in medicine and no evidence. So you have no evidence, you're amateurs, you have no qualifications in medicine. So that's 3 strikes. So I'm done with you guys. What a waste of my time.
Why did you agree to this? I mean, you're not even engaging with the objections we're bringing to what you're saying. You're just continuing to talk and then repeating yourself over and claiming, well, you guys don't have qualifications, therefore what you say is wrong. But the funny thing is that you're bitching at us for not having qualifications, but then you won't tell us what your qualifications are, so we can't qualifications.
Yeah, I know you're really excited. I can sense it. You're
really excited. No, I'm just wondering why you're not like engaging with anything that I'm saying or that Speed is saying. Like literally nothing.
Okay, so I'm gonna jump in real quick.
You have no medical qualification. You don't know what you're talking about.
See what I mean?
And you're making up names. You're just grabbing names off of YouTube. Any academic, any fool can do that.
I cited.
Well, I was just gonna say maybe we can pick an argument and then kind of engage that. And just engage the data and kind of get this back on track. I'm not sure. I think Speed wanted to say something.
I just want to say something about that.
Yeah, I don't want to bombard it.
Yeah, okay. I would like to broach maybe the hard problem of consciousness. Leophilius claimed that this was solved, but I asked him for a citation and some type of documentation for that, and he didn't provide any. He just claimed that, well, that just seems to be the viewpoint of academia. Well,
that is true. That wasn't exactly what I said.
Idealism is the prevailing view in academia. Are you just going to accept it? So I think that was
because it isn't
wild.
By the way, I wanted to respond to Gavin. He said getting things from YouTube. The paper that mentions it, and I can read it right here, it literally says the rostral dorsal lateral pontine tegmentum. So this is from neurology.org, and it says right here, the most widely read and highly cited peer-reviewed neurology journal. Why are like 8, 9 PhDs in the field of cognitive sciences publishing in the world's most respected neurology journal and mentioning this thing if it doesn't exist? And why did Speed? Why was he able to pull a literal textbook on the subject that also mentioned the same thing?
Calls it in Candel they call it the pontine nucleus, so it's just a matter of terminology. Tegmentum refers to the brainstem. The pontine refers to the pons. Yes, it's a pontine nucleus. It is also called the pontine tegmentum. There are people that don't like to use the word basal ganglia, but I have 10 volumes on the basal ganglia. So there are some people that do like to use it. So all you're talking about, Gavin, if you look up pontine tegmentum spelled properly, you will find references to it in Google. I'm sorry.
Yep.
So you're
and in academia,
whatever you're trying to do is
amateurs. I don't use Google for research. I use textbooks. I do
Well,
the old
Speed cited from a textbook, and you're rejecting it. Like I said, you're not engaging with anything that I said. You're just kind of throwing subtle ad hominems out. Oh, you guys are amateurs. I'm the expert. You don't know anything. You don't know. You're just making claims. But you're not you're not cogently engaging with the substance of the material that we're providing you with. You're just kind of reiterating the same thing every time you speak.
Granted, Candell.
Why should I engage with a couple of amateurs who have no medical qualifications? Should I do it for fun?
What do we need? Are you a doctor?
Well, if you look,
You won't tell us what his credentials are, probably because they're not legitimate.
Okay,
Leo, you're so excitable.
Are you a vet? Veterinarian?
I mean, I am kind of having fun.
Anyway, okay, so let's see if we can dig into something. Near-death experience. Basically, they have tested this. They put like notes on shelves above the patient. No one has ever read one. As soon as someone does, this is going to be big news, and we're all going to have really good proof of it. But no,
well, they say
all of the anecdotes. Hang on a second.
Okay.
All of the anecdotes on near-death experience are not going to fly with me. Like this guy that you showed, whatever his name is, he's got a YouTube site, and he goes on about all kinds of bullshit, and it's just, I'm not impressed. Okay. Anecdotes are not going to work. So we have them.
Not to mention, we've actually, we've chemically recreated near-death experiences in a lab.
Actually. Okay. Firstly, we don't know the variables that are within these three dimensions with time, with space, and matter. So to putting a note on something, I think, is actually called shifting the goalpost with that one. There is sufficient data we have from
No,
this.
it's not.
No, let me finish. No, because we had precognition, people that knew stuff from that was even before they were even existed about family members.
No, we don't.
Yeah, we do precognition, but also
no, we don't. It's all anecdotal.
Visually, no, it's not anecdotal because they confirm these things.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they did. Bruce Grayson, look it up. In fact, I'm going to show you right now. Yes, they did. I'm going to show it on the screen right now. Hold on, give me 1 second.
They didn't.
Yeah, they did.
People can't predict the future, and science hasn't shown that's the case.
Yep, they did, though, buddy. I'm going to show you.
No. They showed that people can predict the future. A lot of people would be capable of predicting the future, and you would see a lot of different things happening in our world.
No,
whatever you guys say is just a claim because you brought no evidence.
Are you just going to keep repeating that, or are you going to engage with the evidence we're bringing that you're just, I don't know if it's just you're ignoring it, or if you're choosing not to respond to it?
I'm going to get to the part real quick.
So maybe I'm sorry, please in here real quick. I think we ought to go ahead and let Praise, since he's pulled up this source here, let him kind of get his point across with this, and then we'll let. I think he was bringing it up for you, Leo, and so you can respond to that, and then we'll toss it to Gavin if that's okay
great.
with everyone.
I think that'd be a great idea. So this is NBCI. I think we both can agree that this is a neutral source. Okay. Now I'm going to go down to, this is Bruce Grayson. He's been in his profession for over 25 years, so he is certainly qualified to talk about this. So near-death experiences and consciousness. And he says, I'm just going to briefly read just excerpts up here. So, for example, experiencers sometimes report having viewed their bodies from a different point in space, are able to describe accurately what was going on around them while they were ostensibly unconscious. And they perceived corroborated events occurring at a distance outside the range of their sense organs, including the blind individuals who describe accurate visual perceptions during their NDEs. Furthermore, some NDEers report having encountered diseased relatives and friends, and some child's NDEers describe meeting persons who they did not know at the time. There you go. Foreknowledge, maybe I said the wrong word. I think it's foreknowledge, but later identified as deceased relatives from family portraits they have never seen before. Boom! I mean, what else do I have to say? It's the debate over is right there. It's just such a joke.
How come you're not? How come you're?
That-
Do you have a link
That
to
paper
that?
didn't say anything. But you
Hold
claimed
on a
it did.
second.
I just
Hold
read
on.
from the paper. I literally just read from it.
Hold
I'm gonna put
on.
And
in
it
the
didn't
chat.
say what you said that it did.
Yes, it did.
No, it didn't.
Well, I'm going to share it so everyone can look for themselves in the chat. I'm going to put it right there. And I'm also going to put it in the private chat. So, yeah, we're not going to play hear no, see, you know, what's the old saying? Hear no evil, see no evil. Yeah.
Okay, some of the phenomenal features difficult to explain in terms of our current understanding. Yeah, this is like an overview of experiences that near-death experiences, and I've read this paper, and it is an overview. There is nothing verified that showed that one of these things that they remembered or found out about their past lives or whatever ever was verified. So there's no verification.
Yeah, he just verified that.
How did he verify it? Because he said it?
Yes, he's extensive. Hold on, let me answer the freaking question. He extensively went through each account, and he was personally involved in those accounts. So, I mean, that's ridiculous.
Well, pick one. Pick one account.
He mentioned them in there. You can just go down and read it.
Which one? Pick one. Pick an account, and show me where it's been verified. Show me your work.
I mean, he doesn't specifically mention specific people.
No, he doesn't.
But hold on. But see, in his other work, he explained that he's been personally involved in these. So he's well in the right to say
What other works?
Of his 25 years of research.
It's 25.
But like what works? You said works. What works?
So Bruce
Like
Grayson,
books, papers,
papers, books. He has it all.
Yeah, he does. He kind of makes a living doing this. Not impressed. He's got to verify one account. We've got to be able to verify it. Otherwise, I'm a skeptic. I'm not convinced.
All right, hold on. I'll get you a name. Just give me 1 second. So you're right. I guess I should have been prepared for that one. So good. That's a good challenge. I like that.
I've got a question.
So while you're doing that,
I've got a question.
Hold on, Leo. Yeah, we'll shoot it. We'll go ahead and shoot it to Gavin because he's been waiting for a minute, and then we'll get it back to you.
Hasn't he lost his credibility with the?
I've got a question for these two amateurs. Either one of you can answer it. It doesn't matter. Speed, you mentioned Alzheimer's disease in relation to the mind in your opening statement. What has Alzheimer's disease got to do with the mind?
What? What did you ask?
What has Alzheimer's disease got to do with the mind?
It kind of like takes your mind away entirely. So you don't have one anymore, but you're still walking around.
So you've just validated the fact that you're a total amateur without any medical qualifications, because Alzheimer's disease is a progressive degenerative disease of the brain.
Okay, so the brain has. So you admit that basically there's no such thing as the mind. I'll go with that.
Why not? I did want to jump in really quickly. There's a journal, I can't remember where it's from, and it's in a journal, it's in SagePub, and they show that things like NDEs and OBEs, out-of-body experiences that can be related to them, are a result of the way that all this information, the sensory information that we're getting, the way that it's integrated and processed in the brain essentially breaks down at the place called the temporal parietal junction, I believe it's what it's called. And because all this information breaks down here, people can have experiences of their surroundings in an unconscious state or seemingly unconscious state, which generally is coming from the memory of being in those surroundings there, where it's all just jumbled up and it looks nothing like what it would normally do. That's essentially what out-of-body experiences are. They're an entirely physical result of the brain, or rather the disintegration of extrasensory or rather multisensory processing.
Is that another amateur claim without evidence, Leo?
Right. So Bruce Grayson,
is that the only response that you have?
Is that the only amateur claim you've got without evidence?
I literally cited that this is work published in Sage journals.
I want to see the evidence, Leo. I don't want to hear your voice. as evidence. Your voice is
Well,
not
I mean,
evidence.
I can link you.
Your
I
voice
can
is
link
an
you the
opinion,
paper.
okay?
All you got to do
Your
is
voice is an opinion.
all you have to do is ask. If you want to see the paper, all you got to do is ask.
If you're going to make a claim, it is customary to provide buttressing evidence. That's how adults debate.
Well, no shit. That's why I just put the link in the side chat. If you want to see a link for something, all you have to do is ask.
And as I said, I don't do my research from Google and YouTube. I do it.
Neither do I. I haven't cited anything from Google or YouTube. I don't think Speed has either. In fact, we pulled up literal technical academic literature, and Speed has pulled up textbooks in the subject. So I don't know why you keep making this dubious, spurious, and somewhat insulting claim that all we're doing is just reading off of Google and YouTube, and neither one of us has cited that at all.
Because you're insulting my professionalism with your amateurish approach to this debate.
You haven't given us your credentials again.
But you haven't explained what you're a professional in. You have not verified that claim at all. Back it up, like you tell us to do.
Can you not look? Can you not look in the references in the video description and find?
You can't tell us.
No, it's not there.
You can't tell us? Yeah, actually, no, hold on really quick, Speed. I did look at that, and I noticed that he was giving Speed some heat for citing Wikipedia when he brought up Pontine tegmentum. But when I looked at Gavin's links in the video, the description of the video, I found that one of his citations was a Wikipedia article.
So real quick, guys, real quick, I just want to make sure that Praise gets the opportunity. I know he was trying to get in earlier, so I want to make sure, because as much as I enjoy, getting into the weeds on some of this stuff too. I think that the folks in the side chat are really enjoying getting into the kind of the specific NDEs and things like that. So I know you guys want to finish this part of the conversation, but if it's cool, we'll toss it to Praise. Let him
I appreciate that.
Get back into it.
So yes, I found some names for you: Speed, Susan Blackmore, and also Chael Sabome, and those are specific examples or testimonies or accounts of what I said before. But also, I'd like to respond quickly to Leophilius really quick, and he mentioned.
Praise, just quickly, Susan Blackmore is an atheist.
Yes, she's an atheist, and she believes in the physicality of the mind in the brain. So. And we have books from her about that. I don't know what I know. She has done some other work with Zen, and her stuff's very good, but it's all physical. I mean, we could get into that.
How about we let Praise have his say?
Who was the other person that you mentioned, Praise? I didn't write it down.
Chael Sabome.
How do you spell that?
It's CHAEL-SABOM. So that was specifically mentioned by Bruce, so that might have been an oversight or something. But I would like to respond to Leophilius. He claimed that there was some type of scientific evidence against NDEs. Well, in the paper, I would like to actually put up the paper again that I previously shared. And Bruce Grayson himself, this goes through each supposed issue that people bring up against the NDEs, and he debunks each one. So I'll show that really quick. Yeah, each objection that skeptics bring up. So one of them is depersonalization. One of them is negative effects. We go into post-traumatic stress disorder, pathological conditions, psychiatric. So it could be a psychiatric disorder that's been ruled out. And then they also go into chemicals, brain chemicals. And Bruce Grayson personally gives a refutation of that. So I don't think that your objection was justified. I don't think it has much credence to it. So I'm thinking that's another dismissal of your argument.
That's not what he's explaining here. He's not saying that these are ways to explain away NDEs and he's debunking them. He's stating that these are other completely different psychopathological conditions that can often be misconstrued as being an NDE, but that makes no statements as to the nature of NDEs. It simply states that these things aren't to be confused with it. Well, and I don't think I think neither me nor Speed has confused any of these with NDEs.
Yeah, I think that's a mischaracterization because I'll give you an example. Here's neurochemistry. He speaks to neurochemistry. He goes, NDEs have speculatively attributed to a number of neurotransmitters in the brain, most frequently endorphins and endogenous opioids, a putative ketamine-like endogenous neuroprotective agent acting on N-methyl D-aspartate receptor, serotonin, adrenaline, vasopressin, and glutamate. These speculations are based on hypothetical endogenous chemicals or effects that have not been shown to exist and are not supported by any empirical data. That's a refutation, Leophilius. Yes, that is a legitimate refutation.
A legitimate refutation to what?
Your supposed objections against your physicalist arguments against NDEs.
Well, we've chemically recreated NDEs, so we know that they're physical.
Along with life, I'm sure.
Okay, hang on a second, guys.
Here's a question.
Grayson?
I've got a question for the amateurs. Either one of you can answer.
I'd like to
Why can't you
finish this first.
Gavin,
mind in the brain?
I just want to make
And
sure
why
for
can't
people
you
on here
observe
that
the mind in the brain?
I didn't hear any of that, but anyway, Grayson.
My question is, why can't neuroscientists extract the mind from the brain? And why can't neuroscientists see the brain or observe the mind in the brain?
Okay, so we got that question from Gavin. So we'll give it to Speed because I know he wanted to address something that Praise was saying, and then Speed or Leo can answer Gavin's question there. So just keep it in the back of your mind. Go ahead, Speed.
Okay. So Grayson wrote a book. Grayson has spent his life on this. He wrote a book called Irreducible Mind, 2007. The book was criticized in the American Journal of Psychology for presenting bold claims without empirical evidence. And there's a link to that, basically. And so he has received some criticism. What I saw that he did, and he did rather well, is he documented what people say about their near-death experiences. And that is documentation of anecdotes or what people say. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out. So I mean, if you found, and what he said here in the paper that you pointed out, all he said is these speculations are based on hypothetical endogenous chemicals or effects that have not been shown to exist and not support. I mean, they exist. Ketamine, endogenous opioids, all of those things exist. I don't know what he's talking about, but anyway, he lists a reference, and we can look at that reference. But we're going deep on that, so
right.
Yeah.
To say Bruce Grayson's not credible, I think is probably one of the most foolish and idiotic things. I'm not saying you are, but I'm saying if someone does, I think that would be pretty idiotic to claim that.
He's not being well recognized, and he's not being talked about favorably in many places except his own work, and that bothers me. So I would have to look further into it. I mean, I've been waiting for a credible near-death experience case that actually has some support for a long time. I have not found one. So
well, I mean, we have thousands. I just say maybe
thousands of experiences. Yeah.
Maybe you're being nitpicky there, but I'm not going to be the judge of what convinces you. I'm convinced. I think this is what it comes down to: who's convinced and who's not. And I think that's why we're free will creatures, and that's what makes the world go round.
So real quick, I know Gavin had asked a question a minute ago. Yeah. So if he wants to repeat that, he can. And then real quick, I wanted to let everyone know that we're at about 35 minutes. So if you want to go to 40, we've got about 5 more minutes before closing. If you want to go to 45, we have about 10. So just to let everyone know.
Sure. So my question to either one of the other side is, neuroscience cannot extract the mind from the brain, nor can neuroscience observe the mind in the brain. Why do you think that is?
I'll respond. Okay, the brain has 1 to 10 trillion synapses and connections, about 100 billion neurons, 30 billion in the cortex. Every person's experience is different. They would have to have a computer the size of the solar system in order to track, in order to basically read minds. However, they are making inroads in this. They've been able to look at people's visual cortexes the V1 visual primary visual cortex, they've been able to tell that they were thinking about an airplane. The Japanese did it because the visual cortex is kind of cool. It actually maps your visual field onto a sheet of neurons, so they can actually see what you're seeing or see what you are remembering that you saw once. So anyway, that happens. They've also been able to detect that a person is thinking about something green, or just very, very broad strokes. And they will be at the point within 10 or 20 years where they can actually interrogate bombing suspects to figure out where the bomb is, based on showing them movies and recording what parts of their brain respond to various visualizations. And we've done a lot of work with that. Now, the problem is what you're asking, how do we extract the mind? You can't. You have, in order to simulate the mind, you need something as complicated as the mind, and it's beyond our technology right now.
I wanted to respond to that as well. The question, how do you extract an atom out of an atom? Like, why don't we see an atom in an atom? Because that is the atom. The mind isn't anything separate from the brain. You can't pull it out of it. And to go a little bit further with what Speed was saying, we've actually taken words that people are thinking, and had a computer audibly say them. We've essentially quantified thoughts and memory in the brain. So we know that both are physical processes. The mind is nothing more than the emergent processes that are sustained by the physical brain and its physical electrochemical processes.
Are you saying the mind is immaterial? Is that why we can't extract the mind from the brain, and why we cannot see the mind in the brain? Are you saying the mind is immaterial?
No, I'm saying the mind is the brain. For the same reason you can't take an atom out of an atom is because an atom is an atom. The mind and the brain are not two separate things. They're one and the same.
That's a very, very minority position. That's a position.
No, it's not. That's literally the consensus of neuroscience. I can read you the quote again. And I can give you the study which showed that the two leading theories for explaining consciousness are both physical theories. So you're just patently false. You are just patently, absurdly false when you claim that that is a minority position. It's just straightforwardly.
Can I respond to something really quick that Leophilius and Speed brought up about emergent consciousness? And so here's the thing that they're not telling you is emergent consciousness is a magical leap because you can't get the substrate of neurons of consciousness itself. Chalmers' zombie, the hard problem of consciousness, show qualia is fundamental and irreducible, and you cannot get qualia from physical space. I'm going to give you a citation here. Hold on. Neural firings is a non sequitur when it comes to consciousness. And here's the quote. Hold on, let me finish. Quote, discovering and characterizing neural correlates does not offer a theory of consciousness that can explain how particular systems experience anything at all, or why they are associated with consciousness, the so-called hard problem of consciousness. But understanding the NCC may be a step toward a theory, and this is Candell, 2007, page 382. So note dismissed.
So some guy wrote something in a book that buttloads of data in the field have already shown isn't true.
Was that Chalmers?
Well, remember, Leo, I've already stated that whatever you say is just a claim. You have
we've established that literally nobody is listening to you, Gavin, because you're not substantively responding to anything any of us are saying.
That the mind is physical are atheists and materialists.
Or contributing anything substantive to the discussion.
People that hold the mind as physical. That's the only group. Here's the thing. Answer me this question, either of you, doesn't matter. If the mind was physical, should we not be able to see it?
Could open a person's head and look at their brain.
Right, Leo, I know you're excited. I know you're really overexcited. But if the mind was purely physical, should we not be able to see it, observe it, measure it using classical physics?
We can. It's called the brain. Look at the brain.
Yes. So before we get a little bit more into on that, let everyone know that we are at about 40 minutes. So if you guys want to go a little bit longer, I certainly can. But once everyone's ready to do closings, we'll end the open discussion and then still allow 5 minutes closing for each team. So would you guys like to continue for 5 more minutes or go into closings?
Yeah, we have to get our definitions correct here, Leo. The mind and the brain are different.
No, the evidence doesn't seem to indicate that.
The evidence does indicate that.
It really doesn't.
The only group that consider the mind and the brain to be
is literally the whole of all the fields of cognitive science. Yes.
Well, I conceded that in my opening, Gavin.
No.
That the mind is
only
not
atheists and materialists hold to that view.
Gavin, I said that in my opening. The mind is not identical to the brain.
Thank you.
Yep.
Debunk, Leo.
But the mind is completely physical.
Yeah, the mind is physical. It's a result of the brain and everything that the brain receives. When Speed says that the mind and the brain are not identical, what he means is that the mind isn't just the brain, it's the brain and everything that the brain experiences, everything that it receives, and everything that it does. It's not just a lump of mass. It's all of the ways that lump of mass works.
We cannot explain the mind using classical physics.
We already pretty much have, actually. I mean, unless you're willing to contend that electrodynamics isn't classical.
Your claims are worthless. Your claims are worthless.
That's not my claim. That's just literally the physics. Electrodynamics, classical electrodynamics, chemical interactions explains what goes on in the brain. For the most part.
240 people.
What's that?
Yeah, but didn't you also cite the same number?
I don't know. It's just a bunch
of. Yeah, you did when you were
people.
referring to
No, I never said they're academics, so I said they're blind people. So that's another irrelevant comparison.
Well, no, it's not. It's showing that when I cite a group of individuals on something that are like literal professionals in the field, you just blindly dismiss it. But when you cite roughly the same amount of people that were involved in things and their anecdotal experiences, people that aren't professionals in the field.
I don't need justification for that, though, because I never claimed they're academics. You're the one that's claiming they're academics.
Which is why I don't need to take their testimony seriously. I'm going to listen to the professionals before I listen to people who are not.
So you're saying they're not blind people, then? You're saying that there really was never blind.
When did I say that? When did I say that?
You just really said that.
When did I even allude to that?
Just about 3 seconds ago, you just said that.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you did.
No, I didn't.
You did. You said, well, I'm going to believe a bunch of blind people. That's what I said. They're blind people. They had.
Yeah, I didn't say I'm not going to believe they're not blind. I said I'm not going to believe their anecdotal testimonies against the whole fucking field of cognitive science, my God.
Hey, Leo, toilet mouth. I know you're excited. I can sense it in your voice. But you just said you would only believe professionals. Is that correct?
The consensus of professionals. I accept what the consensus of professionals in any relevant field say about that field, yes.
Right. So then you should respect what I say because I'm a professional.
No, because you're not a consensus and you haven't demonstrated that you are a professional relevant to the field or the fields that we're discussing here tonight.
Wow, it's amateur hour. It's amateur hour on Standing for Truth tonight.
You can keep saying that, but you haven't demonstrated that you're not an amateur either. You've just kind of called everybody else an amateur.
Doesn't even know what a pontine tegmentum is.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, he and I said this before, but he was trying to talk over me, so I don't know if people heard it. But he said that you can't cite Wikipedia when you brought that up, Speed. But when I checked out his links in the description of this video, he cited a Wikipedia link. So again, it's just another double standard from our opponents.
Well, just 1 second, guys, just because there's some over talking. Gavin, what we'll do is we'll let Leo finish his thoughts uninterrupted, and then we'll throw it over to you, Gavin, to respond accordingly. Leo, go ahead.
Sure.
So, Speed, you remember when you showed that the punting tegmentum is a real thing and you cited Wikipedia? Well, Gavin's been telling us to go check his links in the video, in the description of the YouTube video, and I did, and he has a Wikipedia link in there. So why is it okay for him to use Wikipedia but not us? Just another double standard from our opponents here tonight.
Yeah, and they just made this shit up for the Wikipedia.
And then, Gavin, if you wanted to respond uninterrupted, you can go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Like I said, at least one of us on our side, on Praise's and my side, is a professional in medicine. One of us has put in 4 years. Don't laugh, Leo. Don't laugh. I know you get all your...
It's funny. It's just really funny. I'm a professional, but I won't tell you how I'm a professional.
You need to be quiet, Leo. Be a good boy, please. One of us on our side has spent 4 years with his nose in textbooks, not looking up resources on YouTube. So I know how the body works. I know how the brain works and how the mind works. I am a professional.
What's an interlinear nuclei?
Be quiet, please. I haven't finished yet. Praise and I have brought evidence with us You guys have brought nothing but claims. So therefore, based on the evidence alone, we win the debate.
Yeah, I could give a rat's ass if you win the debate. But anyway, what is it? What is the interlaminar nuclei related to the thalamus? Can you explain that to me?
Yeah, absolutely. Can you explain what?
No. Have you explained it?
Can you explain? Yeah, absolutely, I can. Can you explain
So do it.
what the adrenocorticotropic hormone does, Speed? See, we're not going to play the evolution game with you guys.
Not off the top of my head, no.
You guys are so amateur. You'll play these silly games. Do you know what such and such means?
Well, you said you were a professional, my guy. You should know what these mean. I mean, you're the professional, right?
Leo, I know you're excited. I can sense the excitement from down here in New Zealand. I know you're salivating like Pavlov's dogs.
I don't believe in New Zealand, my guy. I'm a flat earther.
Here's the thing. Whatever you guys say is just a claim. You have no evidence. We have brought evidence to the table. I am a professional. I spent the time at college.
Which college?
In textbooks, okay?
Could we go to
and I have the graduating material to prove it.
So we are at about 45 minutes of total open discussion. Is it cool with everybody to walk into closers? Would that be all right?
Yeah, I'd be quite happy to get rid of these guys.
All right. Yeah, I don't know who wants to go first. If we want to do it like we did before, then it would be Praise-Gavin doing their 5-minute closer, followed by Leo and Speed. Is that cool?
Since they got the first word.
Okay.
You want to go first, Gavin? You want to get your thoughts collected and then your 5 minutes? Up to you.
No, I'm good. So we as a our side's got 5 minutes to close.
Yep, and then I'll have 5.
Then you'll have 5. So each person has 5 minutes.
I thought it was 5.
Did you guys? I thought.
Oh, 5.
Yeah,
okay, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
We can do 5 for both. That's what everyone wants. But
I'll go for about 2 minutes, Praise, and then we can close this out. Look, ladies and gentlemen, what we've seen tonight is pretty much a dumpster fire with a couple of amateurs with no medical qualifications at all, using YouTube as their reference source and trying to sound like they know what they're talking about. The problem is, on Praise and my side, is that I'm a medical professional. I've spent 4 years, a while ago admittedly, but 4 years grinding my way through textbooks, not through YouTube videos, to become very skilled at what I do. So we know the mind and the brain are separate, as is the consensus of most medical professionals, whether they're atheist or theist. The only people that hold to that hill they're going to die on about the brain and the mind are the same are atheists and materialists. But the truth is that the mind and the brain are totally separate. And I think we've demonstrated that tonight, beyond all doubt. And with that, I'll hand it over to you, brother.
Awesome, thank you, Gavin. And yeah, I think tonight I'm just going to summarize what we showed, and I'm going to show something really quick as well. And so what we talked about is telekinesis in secular journals and with monkeys, and it was classified as their mind moving something or making something happen through mental power. And then we went to NDEs, and I just heard a bunch of excuses to not believe in something. There's this trying to dismiss the evidence, and we showed. Also, I challenged Leophilius and also Speed on the hard problem of consciousness. There's actually 2 of them. I just heard a bunch of pontificating. I don't think they resolved anything. I didn't think they showed anything very compelling. But here's a page. Here's a paper from Maus, Yav, Kolk, and Mudrik, and what's interesting, I just want to just real quickly read the part of the abstract. I think it's going to be very important in this discussion tonight. So the onset of readiness potential RP, a key neural correlate of upcoming action, was repeatedly found in precede subjects, reports of having made an internal decision. This has been taken by some as evidence against a causal role of consciousness in human decision-making, and thus a denial of free will. Yet, those studies focused on purposeless, unreasoned, arbitrary decisions bereft of consequences. It remains unknown to what degree these specific neural precursors of action generalize to deliberate decisions. So in other words, there's arbitrary decisions, which what they would classify as mapping as a physical brain, but see, they don't know, they're equivocating, they are conflating arbitrary decisions with deliberate decisions. And science has freaking verified that there are deliberate decisions, and I think that's enough proof tonight. And how much proof can we give without people just dismissing the evidence? And with that, I'll end my time.
Could you link that paper, please, Praise?
Yeah, absolutely.
Private chat, so I don't have to look it up.
Sure.
Take a look at it.
All right. Next? That was about 3 minutes and 50 seconds. So if you guys want to pass it over to Leo and Speed, we could put the remainder of that time in the Q&A. Cool? Or not cool? Cool? Okay. All right. So it's Leo and Speed.
It's fine.
All right. Leo and Speed, I will start your clock when you guys start chatting, and I'll let you know when you're at 4 minutes.
Okay. I don't have too much other than that. It is really important to understand that our understanding as human beings of what our mind and what consciousness is are perfectly flawed. There's no way that we can introspect our own consciousness. It is it amounts to making things up about our brains and our minds that match our cultural biases and our religious biases, and it really doesn't mean anything. David Chalmers famously came up with the hard problem of consciousness. And David Chalmers famously made a whole lot of money writing books and giving lectures on what he had come up with. It's termed the hard problem of consciousness. Well, there is no real hard problem of consciousness other than that we are incapable of pointing out consciousness in the world anywhere, or even in our own. We can't even coherently define it in our own minds. We all we can point to is the content of our consciousness. There are many or there is a great deal of work to be done in trying to using phenomenology is what they call it, basically trying to detail what is the question that we're trying to answer when we're talking about how does the brain make mind, how does the brain make consciousness. Neural correlates of consciousness have famously been cased for the last 40 years, and no one has ever found one single neural correlate of consciousness. They have found dozens of them. In fact, they have finally, most researchers have thrown up their hands and said it is the entire brain. The entire brain and body and the world around you is consciousness. And when you start to understand that, you can start to unwind how consciousness and the mind is physical. Now, the other thing is, like the intralaminar nuclei, which is at the center of the thalamus, it's a little tiny thing about the size of a raisin. If you get rid of that, consciousness completely gone. That was once considered a neural correlate of consciousness, but then they found a whole bunch of other ones too. So the whole brain has to work together in order to create this wonder that is our internal reality. In a short debate with guys like Gavin, I really appreciated you, Praise. It is very difficult to start to unwind and figure out what the question is, let alone answer the question. So I didn't really expect a lot tonight. I'm hoping we can do some YouTube videos to elaborate on some of the things we come up with. Praise, I am very interested in anything you can give me on NDEs that are specific. If you could send it to me in written form, I will take a look at every bit of it.
My pleasure, man.
I will change my mind.
Awesome.
That's all I got.
Thanks, Speed.
All right. So I guess I'll first start off with one of our opponents pretty much the whole time just claimed he was a professional and charged us with not being professionals, so we can't be taken seriously, despite the fact that all of our information came from peer-reviewed journals, textbooks in the field, things like that, but that we use Google and YouTube when neither me nor my partner here cited anything from either of those two sites. And when pressed, he couldn't even substantiate his own claim that he was an expert. He didn't provide anything. He didn't tell us where he went or what his research was, where he, what fields he worked in. So I find that interesting. I also find it interesting that a lot of the information that me and Speed presented was sort of hand waved away, even though a lot of their information came from sources that were similar. I've noticed that the sources they presented didn't seem to arrive at or even really insinuate in many cases a lot of the conclusions that they came to. It just seemed to be taking something out of context to run a particular narrative, which I don't think is entirely honest to do. Also, it was been claimed that the consensus of relevant professionals states that there's a difference between the mind and the brain, and that the mind is immaterial. That is literally not the consensus. I shared a survey, a sample survey of the professionals in the relevant fields, and the two leading models for what human consciousness is that are adhered to by both experts and non-experts that work in these fields is both of these models are physicalist models. So I don't think that the argument that me and my partner here have presented for everybody that the mind is in fact physical has been properly assailed. And I think that most of the information that we provided to back that up hasn't actually been addressed. It's been more dismissed, while at the same time, our opponents are presenting information that doesn't even arrive at the conclusions that they claim that it does. So it seems to me to be the case that the mind being physical and being entirely connected to the brain, a result of its fundamental interactions and operations, seems to comport with reality and seems to be comported by the data, as well as being supported by the overwhelmingly vast majority of the people who are researching and studying in the field.
All right, sweet. That was just under 5 minutes. So it looks like we've got the closings down. Stanley and I have been gathering all of the questions, and we have them here in the side. So Stanley, would you like to kick us off here as we get into the Q&A?
Sure, it would be an honor. So great debate, great modding. Erica, very lively, engaging chat. 2 hours has flown by, and we've got almost 70 people in the chat. So make sure you hit that like button, guys.
Talkers.
So, good debate, guys. You guys kept it fun, respectful, cordial for the most part. So I've got the first question here from Bill Tavis. He asks, ask Leo how he explains the quantum slit experiment, which shows that our conscious observation affects external reality.
So it's called the double slit experiment, and it doesn't show that. What it shows is that an electron is in a state, a superpositional state called a wave function, prior to interacting with the detection screen on the other side. And so that when we shoot electrons through two slits, what happens is the wave functions of all the electrons travel through, and you get an interference pattern like you would if you took a wave of water and put it through, which indicates the wave nature of reality. Consciousness isn't related to this at all. This has to do with linear algebra. So if one doesn't know what an eigenbasis is, I don't think that I could reasonably or fairly interlocute with them on the subject. And I got to be honest, I don't think the person that asked that question is probably familiar with enough of the very, very basic mathematics underlying how quantum mechanics works to engage them in a way where I feel I can be sincere.
Can I respond to that? Or is there we allow both sides on that, or?
Yeah, good question, Praise. I was going to say thanks for the response, Leo. Yeah, if we want to do responses, like a brief back and forth on the questions, I typically just say as a rule, whoever the question was for, we'll allow them to have the last word. So Praise, if you want to respond, go ahead.
Awesome. So I guess my response to that is that who gave that chat, because that was fantastically
Bill Tavis or Tavis, I don't know how to pronounce that.
Yeah, well said, Bill. And see, what I would say to Leophilius is the measurement problem, but also the von Neumann chain. And what that shows that it's an infinite paradox. So what happens is material explanations for the wave collapse, it just becomes an infinite regress. So you have to have something non-local, immaterial to collapse the wave function. Therefore, consciousness is fundamental and has to be the center focus of the collapse of the wave function. Well said.
So the measurement problem has generally been solved in most instances by decoherence, which is the result of the coherency of the information contained in an isolated quantum system evolving into its environment, so to speak. What wave function collapse is actually is, in technical terms, is called state vector reduction, and this is why I said that anybody that wants to comment on this really should have an understanding of linear algebra. If you could imagine a three-dimensional coordinate space, and we're not going to talk about its structure because it's not important, you can have a vector mapped in that, and you can have a set of other potential vectors that you can project that vector onto, and generally when you do that, you have to use something that's called an operator or a linear operator in quantum mechanics, which are things that take a function and spit out another function, so they can take a normalized wave function and give you a projection of that wave function onto one of the other bases, one of the other eigenbases in that, or one of the other eigenvectors in that eigenbasis. And what happens is then you can scale those and you get a basis eigenstate that we call the measurement. This doesn't require consciousness. This simply requires something to interact with the quantum system.
All right, sweet. Okay, next next question. From Korag Nightwolf. They ask, can Praise-Gavin explain the difference between reductive and non-reductive physicalism?
So I'll take a stab at this. You want to go, Gavin? You can go first. It's up to you, but I'll take a stab at it.
No, you go for it, Praise.
So the mind is irreducible, and we show that neural correlates. And I'm not sure if that's where Korag is going with that. Is the mind reducible or irreducible? Well, I think I showed with a couple. I can even show another citation here, but I don't think I have enough time. But well, I'm going to give you the name at least. If you look up, his name is Chen. So Chen, he goes through it, but he shows that the mind is irreducible, and there's a bunch of science we can back it up with, like qualia and etc. So I'll leave it there.
Any responses from the other debaters on that one?
Nope.
Okay, so I can go to the next question. So Erica, you just asked Korag's question. So next one, can Leophilius, or speed of sound explain how those who have flatlined, example, brain dead, no brain activity, revive after death, and can explain everything that happened while they dead?
I can, but if Speed wants, you're muted, Speed.
They basically made it up when they came to and elaborated on the stories, and there is no real good collaboration for any of these cases. And like I say, if you got one, send it to me, and it's going to require a whole lot of collaboration. I mean, you're talking about kind of a miracle here. You need miraculous evidence. I haven't found a single case that sounded.
I did want to add to that really quickly that people can have experiences with their brain is in an extremely low energy state. There's nothing in the literature that states that somebody who is literally brain dead is having any experiences.
Right.
Literal brain death, the person can't come back. They couldn't have experiences or come back to talk to you about them.
Can I respond to that, SFT?
Of course, yeah. Go ahead,
Hello.
Gavin.
Yeah, look, there is an embarrassingly huge amount of evidence relating to NDEs. The only people that hand wave it away are the atheists and materialists, because they've got, so much skin in the emotional game of being an atheist and a materialist. That's all I want to say.
Anything that you want to say, Speed? Because I do have something really short, but you can go if you've got anything.
No, it's fine.
So we've chemically recreated NDEs in the lab. We've done this with 625 people, but have also examined reports from roughly 15,000 that have used roughly 165 different psychoactive substances, and we've recreated almost every aspect of what an NDE is, not to mention that NDEs only seem to happen in people. They can either be close to death or not even close to death and still experience them, and it happens when certain functions of the brain are simply discoordinated with each other. Nobody with a healthy brain has ever been able to have an NDE.
I do have one comment. When basically when your brain starts running out of oxygen, your visual cortex, your primary visual cortex, I explained it was like a sheet at the back of your head that maps what you see. It starts to go dim from the outside in. And as you go unconscious, it becomes a brighter and brighter spot of light. And it looks a hell of a lot like a tunnel of light. And
Bruce
they
Grayson.
produce this stuff. What?
Just check out Bruce Grayson. He debunks all that. I gave the citation. People just look at it. Like, to me, this is old news. Yeah.
Bruce has skin in the game. Lots of it. Books, royalties, whatever. Okay. Anyway,
the only people that dismiss NDE reports are atheists and materialists. Imagine that.
We're not dismissing that they happen. We're just stating that the result of them happening is processes occurring in the physical brain. That's all.
Nope.
All right. From Jamie Russell for $5. Thank you, Jamie. I'm assuming since this isn't directed at anyone in particular, that it's kind of for everyone, unless anyone feels particularly that it's directed at their team. Jamie asks, did God create souls and put them in a body, or is the soul a living person when the body is given the breath or the spirit? Genesis is clear. What say you?
That's a hard one for me. I haven't really studied that. I would say the latter. I would say that we were created a soul and God breathed into it, but that's just me on that one. But go ahead, Gav, you want to address that?
Yeah, it seems clear to me from Scripture that the soul is part of us when we are created.
All right, sweet. No, Leo, Speed, no comment.
The only thing I would say is that souls don't exist.
Yeah.
Roger that. All right, your turn, Standing.
Awesome. Okay, so question from Renwill W. Thanks so much for your question. I have a question, Renwill says. Is this discussion only relevant to humans? If it applies to other living things, does it extend to all of them or only things like mammals, birds, reptiles, etc.? Maybe
There
it's a
is
question for everybody.
There is a hypothetical model. I don't know if I'd call it a model, but I don't want to call it a theory because neuroscience is a science, so you can't really use that word theory. An idea that consciousness might be this sort of this more what's the word I'm looking for? It's a spectrum rather than being like a defined thing, and that even trees have some degree of being able to sense and perceive the reality around them in some way, and that you could call that consciousness. I don't know what the opinion is of the majority of the professionals, but I do know that there are other animals, octopi or some octopodes, I think is the plural, elephants, other apes, even I think some big cats and dogs that exhibit numerous higher level cognitive functions like what humans have. Maybe not all of them, maybe not quite to the degree that they do, but it is plainly clear that there are numerous other animals that are fully aware of their surroundings and capable of making decisions and have emotions just like humans do.
Okay, let me
Can I
comment.
respond to that? Oh, no. Where you go, Mike? Where you go?
Okay. I kind of have a question for Praise-Gavin on that. My raccoons, do they have souls? And if they don't have souls, do you believe that they're conscious? Do they have minds? What do you think about my raccoons?
Yes, I would say, well, in Genesis 1, it uses the word nefesh in the Hebrew, and that's usually described as an immaterial aspect of a living entity, an organism. So yeah, in Isaiah 65, Isaiah 11 shows that they will be in the afterlife. So they do have a spiritual component to them, just like humans do. Yeah.
Well, that's news to me. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Can I respond? SFT?
Sure.
Of course. Go ahead, Gavin.
Yeah, I'm just responding to Leo's answer. Leo's answer was dripping with evolution. The problem is that evolution, neo-Darwinian evolution, is false. It can't even meet the standard scientific method. It's not observable, it's not demonstrable, it's not testable, and it's not repeatable. So evolution is a loser, not even a science. However, the only people that evolution carries favor with are atheists and materialists.
And literally the whole of all fields related to biology.
And Christians.
Yes, the majority of Christians also accept.
So.
all the Catholics.
And again, I bring you back to the point that whatever you guys say is just a claim.
Okay, next question is from, let's see, I Know Better. For Gavin specifically, they ask, how would you describe the mind of a late-stage Alzheimer's patient whose brain has seriously degenerated?
How would I describe the mind? Well, because the person has got Alzheimer's disease, they have a degenerative brain disease. So their mind would not be as good as it was before they encountered the disease. Brain damage does affect the mind. That's just common knowledge. So the mind of an Alzheimer's, somebody who has Alzheimer's disease, the mind wouldn't be that crash hot.
If it's immaterial, why would that?
It's common knowledge.
Why would that be if it's immaterial? I mean, if it's the soul and it's completely separate from the brain and it's immaterial, why would the brain going affect the soul?
Because the brain's the interface for the soul. So if you damage the interface, it's like a computer. You can call it a computer for the soul. It's going to affect the soul, but the soul itself in the immaterial, or we would say the fourth dimension or fifth dimension, is unaffected. So,
okay, that is the standard answer, and I've heard you give that before. So basically, you have the soul, and then you have the interface, and then in the brain you have the subjective experience.
Yeah.
Because so the subjective experience you're saying is physical and it's in the brain. Right.
Yeah. But they're inextricably connected, though. Like it's like you like sometimes I think atheists miss the mark on this when they think there's a dichotomy there. No, they go together. Like they're not a divorce from each other. So it's like one of those things that they're together. That's the best way.
But
can I ask a quick question?
The soul is not experiencing anything when you have an Alzheimer's patient that's almost completely shut down. Then you're saying that the soul is shut down too.
Right, because they go together. So the soul is a slave to it. That's the best way to put it. So go ahead, Leo.
Is what you would call the soul, or this immaterial mind, whatever this immaterial substance is, can you have it interacting with the natural world in a measurable way without a brain and an agent to which that brain belongs?
That's a great question. I might have to do more research on that. So I don't know how to
honest
really
answer.
Yeah.
My answer would be no, you can't observe it, just like, neuroscientists can't observe the mind or see the mind or extract the mind from the brain.
So you got no proof.
Erica, I've got a super chat here from Stupid Whore Energy. Did you want me to?
Okay.
So I can do that one, and then I know James Downer's got a question too. If you want to get to that one after I do this one.
Yeah, sure. And then I put one last in the chat. We got one from Chris Keith that came in a little bit late, so I can do RJ's, and then if you want to finish up with that one, then that should be it.
Sure. Perfect. Great questions, everybody. So this question is from Stupid Whore Energy, $5 super chat. I appreciate it. Thanks so much. Question is there a paper that actually shows the floating patient specify codes / shapes at the top of the room that was placed there beforehand?
As far as I know, no.
I don't know. I don't know of a paper.
Oh.
I have to dig.
The expert doesn't know.
Leo, be quiet, boy. Just be quiet. There are reports of people reporting they've seen like the tops of medical equipment when they've had their NDE. But I think, I just say I don't know, but I'm sure if I dug hard enough, I'd find something.
To my knowledge, in searching for it, no, it's never been done, and that is the problem. And we're waiting for that evidence. So.
All right. Okay. So from RJ Downer, this is a question from Gavin specifically. RJ wants to ask you, Gavin, for the names of the neuroscientists who agree with your immaterial consciousness position so that he can go look them up.
Yep. Good idea.
You gave me one there, Gavin, if you want to share that one.
Sorry, RJ Down wants what, Erica?
Oh, yeah, I'll just reread the question. RJ asks you for the names of the neuroscientists who agree with your immaterial consciousness position so that he can look them up.
Okay. RJ Downard, you're trying to spring a gotcha question on me. We have listed a number of references in the video description. You can look those up.
You don't know one off the top of your head? I mean,
Mr. Professional? You don't know your relevant colleagues in the field? You don't know any of them that agree with you?
Yeah, I do, Wonder Boy. I do.
So who are they? Answer Mr. Downard's question.
I just did. He can look in the video description at the references we've supplied and find out for himself. I'm not holding his hand.
I see.
So Michael Egnor, I'll give him one. Michael Egnor. There's one for you.
How do you spell ignore?
EGNOR.
I don't know who that is.
Okay, and then while you're looking that up, actually, I've got two super chats from Doki Doki Bible Club. Doki, thanks so much.
He's a surgeon.
First one, and it's two. It's two more lighthearted ones. So let me see. First one, Doki Doki Bible Club. Question for everybody. $2 super chat. Thanks so much. Question is best Christmas movies, most favorite Christmas movies. So
The Polar Express.
Polar Express.
Jingle Bells.
Jingle Bells.
Sorry, Dingo or Deck the Halls. Deck the Halls. Yeah, I love that one.
I forgot the name of it, but it's the one in the airport where they all get together in the end. What the hell was that one?
Home Alone, right? That one?
No, they all get together in the end. Like there's like 20 different stories that converge.
Huh.
And, like famous. What is that? Everybody knows this movie.
I think I know the one you're talking about, Speed. I cannot for the life of me remember the name of that.
It is the best Christmas movie ever.
Is that the one with Hugh Grant in it? Mike?
Yes.
Okay, right. Another one you're talking about. It's great. It's a great movie.
But
See,
nobody
there you
knows
go.
it.
I just want to point out that none of us got the right answer. The right answer is Die Hard, obviously.
Die Hard, right?
That's true. You can't beat Bruce Willis.
It's Love Actually. That's the one you guys are thinking.
Love
That's what it
Actually.
is.
That's the best movie ever made, I think.
See, Speed of Sound and Gavin, you guys can bond over favorite
Love
Christmas
Actually.
movies.
Look at that.
Yeah, I'm going to answer this one too. Jingle All the Way is mine with Arnold Schwarzenegger. What about you, Erica? What's your favorite Christmas movie?
Oh man, I think the one that I always watch every year is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, which is
good one.
fun one.
John Candy, right? Yeah.
Yep.
John Candy. Oh God, what's his name? Isn't the one dude from Cheaper by the Dozen in that too?
Yeah, it's-
What the hell is his name? There you go.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Doki Doki asked the best question. Okay. And then Doki Doki, another super chat says, any after show. So I believe, Praise, you have an after show. Is there any other ones I should be announcing? Okay,
I don't know.
So you got a chill after show. Anybody else have one?
Steve Martin
Okay.
is what I meant.
We're gonna do one tomorrow.
Okay, so Speed of Sound, we'll be doing one tomorrow, and
It'll be more of a review than an after show. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's okay. Erica, if you wanted to get to the last question, then since I just went over those ones, that's cool with me.
Also, I had to correct myself in the chat. I said Steve Allen, but I was thinking of Tim Allen and Steve Martin and merging them in my head. I meant Steve Martin.
A fusion of the Santa Claus and
Yeah, that's exactly it, right? Okay, so from Chris Keith. So Chris Keith has a question for you, Leo. What are your thoughts on savant syndrome? What physical part of the brain would account for someone that never played a piano in their life suddenly being able to play after brain trauma?
There's Speed would probably know more on the actual literature behind that, but the savant syndrome is just a thing where people have gifts that most people don't, like the ability to do, I think it was, who was it? I want to say Richard Feynman, but I don't think that's the right answer, could do integral calculus in his head, a feat that very, very little, even professional mathematicians can do. And then there's obviously Albert Einstein. But the thing with a lot of these people is they have either overdeveloped or even sometimes underdeveloped parts of the brain. I know in the case of Albert Einstein, he had, there are things called glial cells, and I can't remember right off the top of my head what they do, but I know they're related to the neuron in some way. Speed would know more of the details. But where I think it's like 2 to 3 glial cells per neuron is what the average human brain has. Albert Einstein had 4 to 5 and was capable of working through complex mathematical problems. And then you have naturally things like autism spectrum disorder, but all of these things are physical aspects of the physical brain affecting how it physically functions, giving people the ability to engage in certain what's the word I'm looking for, talents that other people might not pick up as easily or be able to work through as quickly.
Okay. I don't know about savants, so. But the last part of this, being able to play a piano after never playing a piano in their life, another anecdote, I'd like to see the evidence on that. So.
I have heard about stuff like that, but it's not that somebody with brain trauma who's never played the piano, can't read sheet music, literally walks up and can throw out like Beethoven's symphony or something. What I have heard is that people pick up skills that they never had, and they pick them up very, very quickly and get very good at them very, very quickly. But that they can't literally just, I'm not in a coma anymore, sit down at a piano and just start going. I don't think there's any literature on that specifically.
Yep.
Okay, well, it looks like that was the final question, I believe. Doki Doki, thank you so much for all the super stickers. We got through all the super chats, questions. Lots of good questions from the audience, very lively, engaging, cordial debate. So thank you to everybody. Thanks again, Erica, for co-modding. Why don't we give any final words from anybody before we shut her down for the night?
Oh man,
I do, but other people can go first if anybody.
I'll go first. Mine's lighthearted. I just hope everyone has a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, New Year. Stay safe out there and enjoy the time with friends and family. That's it.
Thanks. We are going to be doing some after shows on this topic and digging a little deeper into it. It's very difficult in this format to dig into it in the way it deserves. So anyway.
My last words are, I have a YouTube channel. It's the same as my name on YouTube, naturally. I am a science educator and a science communicator. I focus mainly on astrophysics, cosmology, and quantum mechanics, but I do dabble into discussions or debates wherein I challenge the creationist or the intelligent design positions that many, oftentimes religious people, but not always, tend to put forward.
I have a YouTube channel and want everybody to subscribe to me because I'm old and I'm going to die soon. And you'll
subscribe to me just because it'll help me put out more content and get me off my ass and doing something.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm going to say Merry Christmas, everyone. I appreciate our interlocutors for engaging with us, and we had some fiery moments, but I think it was, in general, a good, respectful discussion. So I think you've taken your time out, especially Erica and SFT for moderating.
Yes, thank you guys very much, and big thank you to SFT, Erica.
Yep.
Really appreciate it.
God bless everyone. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Always
Gavin,
enjoyable.
final words,
Yeah,
Gavin?
I just want to say, yeah, sure. Just final words. Merry Christmas to everybody. Stay safe out there. And we look forward to a great 2021. Anything has got to be better than 2020.
Let's be cautious.
We can all agree on that.
Yes, that's something we can agree on. My final words, great final words from all of you. Yes, Merry Christmas. And as our boy James from Modern Day Debate always says, if you like what you heard, then go subscribe to Speed, Gavin, Praise, Leo, Erica. If you haven't subscribed to me yet, subscribe to me as well. And that's it. Yeah, Merry Christmas. I'll make sure everybody's links are in the description box. And I think that's about it. Thanks, everybody, for joining. Thanks to the audience for some great questions. And SFT is out.